On behalf of Disability Rights Washington and FutureWise, today we're going to look at the civil rights battle for people with disabilities and the ongoing development of more livable communities for them. On July 22nd, a rally was held in downtown Seattle celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Here's a video we made of the past and present fight for people with disabilities.
The ADA is my government's way of sending a message to my country, to my family, and to me, that people with disabilities are valued, should be treated equally, and deserve the opportunities and consideration that all people deserve.
The ADA was an expansion of the protections first granted in the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and was authored by Tom Harkin, a Democratic senator who delivered part of his introductory speech in sign language so his deaf brother could understand. The legislation quickly gained broad bipartisan support, and shortly before the bill was passed, disability advocates organized the Capitol Crawl, in which people with disabilities shed their assistive devices and pulled themselves up the Capitol steps. This protest was influential in convincing several senators to vote for the legislation, and on July 26, 1990, the bill was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush. 18 years later, his son would soon sign a law expanding the provisions of the ADA to include a broader definition of people with disabilities. Many of the features that we take for granted today are the result of the ADA. Automatic door openers, sign language interpreters, elevators in all buildings, braille, ramps, kneeling buses, service animals, and tactile pavement are just a few of many improvements in accessibility that help people with disabilities navigate cities and buildings. Features of the ADA is the ban on discrimination in the workforce. It protects qualified individuals with physical or mental disabilities from discrimination in any stage of employment, from initial application to promotion. It also requires employers to make reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities. This expansion of economic opportunity was essential to helping people with disabilities live productive, self-sufficient, and independent lives. One of the goals of FutureWise is to build better, more livable cities for everyone. Even though there have been significant improvements since the signing of the ADA, there is still much to be done moving forward. The Livable Communities for Adults with Disabilities report identified 6 factors necessary for building a truly accessible community. In brief, they are an adequate supply of affordable, accessible housing, efficient and reliable transit options, a more inclusive physical environment, broader work and education opportunities, easier access to health and supportive services, and greater participation in the community. It's clear that we made more progress on some of these factors than others. Though there are many important and valid policy proposals, we'd like to focus on 3. First, the low supply of accessible, affordable housing in Seattle has disproportionately affected people with disabilities, and we should take measures through zoning laws and building codes to increase the availability of housing options. Second, though most public transit comes with handicap-accessible features, it is crucial to establish streamlined, consistent procedures for accommodating people with disabilities. Finally, though much attention has been given to physical disabilities, we need to ensure the rights of people with mental disabilities are also being fully protected. The cultural stigma and double standard against mental illness often treats psychiatric disorders as a personal or moral failure rather than a medical condition. We have the ability to utilize urban planning techniques to reduce noise and stress levels in the city environments, which benefit individuals with anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. 25 years later, we've come a long way, but there's still much to be done. Thank you for helping us spread awareness and for building more livable communities. And thank you, Disability Rights Washington and FutureWise, for everything you've taught us this summer. Thank you greatly.